Welcome back, everybody, to Blood Rush League Season 2. Now, we're in the winners bracket of Round 2's winners bracket, where we will be seeing Decay's Killer, which will be the Cenobite on the Vector's Yard, versus Dispersion Survivors. Now, our Cenobite here is choosing for quite an aggressive build. Now, we see a Pain Resonance, a Ruin, and Hex Undying paired along with the Sloppy Butcher, which is actually a nice bit of aggression. So Jiggy will be taking the first tag onto our ace on the, I believe this is the top side of the map. And our ace will be actually finding this God Palette and will be dropping it, trying to get perhaps a stun onto Jiggy here. But Jiggy will just be holding the W button and will be actually taking the down onto ace here. Actually, this is the top side of the map, if I am not clarified. So Jiggy will be taking the first hook onto the top side of the map on the ace, and actually will not break this pallet here. And actually, okay, we'll go back and break the pallet. Yes, you want to break that pallet. It is actually quite a strong pallet. And as we see near the hook, we see a Ruin Totem or Undying Totem, which is still active. The other one has been cleansed already, but no generator has been finished or even progressed for the start of this match. So in this case, we'll be seeing Ice Tree with the box actually trying to rotate for the save aggressively, but Jiggy misses the chain on them and decides to just check back on the generators. Actually sees, I believe that was a Claudette there, but I was just going off outfits. But Ice Tree does start solving the box in the distance. This is actually quite an optimal start for Jiggy here, as kind of the survivors are being pressured off gens with the aggressive use of the chains. If we look at the add-ons used, we have the original pain and the I've forgotten the name of it, but it's the classic 2 where if you break free with an environment, you get chained again, and if you break free while you're injured, you get deep wounded. Seems here that Dispersion survivors want to opt to leave our ace for the second hook stage to try and pop these bottom side generators so that he can be free and run to the bottom side if necessary to extend the last chase that he'll have with Cenobite, because no doubt we'll be seeing a tunnel out onto him as we see some birds fly out and also a window vault. So yeah, we'll be trying to pull off some kind of FTP play perhaps. We saw them try and go for a heal there, but unsuccessful. Actually, Ace gets stuck on the trash on the edge of the map, so Ice Tree will have to go in for a body block hit, and actually Jiggy decides not to and goes for the trade onto Ace instead, which does actually hit Ice Tree. Nice body block there to prevent the tunnel out from the ace from going on. But actually, 2 gens pop in the distance, one from Venato and one from Claudette. Now, Ace will take the vault here. Actually, no, decides not to. Venato will be taking an M1 tag for Ace, as the Shack Pallet, I would assume, has already been dropped. That's not the case, because you see Jiggy here is not having to break it at all, and Ace here might be in a bit of trouble because they decided that they cannot make a Shack Pallet, so has to play this Sin car instead. So we'll be seeing if they can get out of this perhaps into some safety. But actually the slow vault comes in and the chains are still coming in, so that'll just be the down onto our ace with 3 gens remaining and their death hook. So this is a really ideal spot for the Pinhead to be in, with 3 gens remaining in a 3v1, especially with these aggressive perks that they've brought. They've not really gotten any what do you call it? They have the extra perk slot for the Corrupt, which is the Undying, which protected the Ruin on the edge map on 1. So currently, yeah, Jiggy still has the active Ruin, which will be eating away on whichever gens are being progressed and left that the survivors decide to leave. But Renato does take the unfortunate M1 over the pallet, trying to slow vault over it, but not making it anywhere because Jiggy will kind of just zone him away from everything else, and we'll be taking a hook onto Venato on this oil truck here. Let's see what Jiggy decides to do, because that was a pain resonance and it did hit a generator, and Claudette goes for a box, so this Ruin Totem will be getting a lot of value. Do you see the box being worked on in the background? So Claudette will be working it, but Jiggy decides not to go to it as the box is sold. So now the question is, where is Ice Tree and what generator are they doing? Are they doing the deep gen, or are they doing the edge gen, which is the safest one, but also would be the furthest away from the unhook? So if the Claudette were to be chased, then it will be quite a long rotation for them to get to the unhook. Seems here that the generator at bus has just completed, so the Pinhead knows that this must be the injured Ice Tree, and will seem to want to commit to this. Oh, this is actually the very patient sprint burst play from the ice tree coming in from behind the bus as they take the M1 tag, not being able to reach the filler at the bus here. Obviously, no pallet save coming in because both other survivors are across the map. So we'll be taking the hook onto IE tree on this edge map 9, I believe, 9 hook here. Next to the pallet, I would assume Jiggy knows as well to just break the pallet, but does not seem to be the case because the reset happened onto the survivor, so they still have to be close by this oil truck hook somewhere. So they want to reapply the sloppy butcher if possible, seeing scratch marks to the bus. Sorry, the broken oil trucks, but deciding not to commit. Actually, checking the ruin totem here, smart usage of the chains to get some vision on the totem. If there was a survivor on that totem and the chain did land on them, it would completely interrupt and stop the progress on the ruin totem. So we did see Venato walking away from the totem, and he did get chained. So this is some good pressure again by Jiggy, just keeping up the chains, using them whenever they're on cooldown, whenever they're off cooldown, I mean, and just trying to get the survivors off the generators so the ruin can just eat away at the percentages. Seems like Claudette here, I believe, is just going to pressure this gen edge map, and the Minato hasn't been seen for a while, so I would assume here when the Claudette is being calm that they're being chased, that the Minato will come in to get the pull, and so since they're being committed here, I would assume that Minato will be getting the pull shortly. But actually, if we look at the percentages on the on the HUD there, we see that the box percentage has ticked to around 100%. And just as I say that, as the second stage comes in onto Ice Tree here, Venato does come in for the pull, but this is not really what a position you want to be in because the box is in full effect, so the chain hunt is active, and it will mean that the survivors will have to be dodging chains actively or taking the slowdown of their walking. Jiggy taking a mind game onto the oil truck, and Ice Tree actually falling for this, taking just holding W away from the oil truck, and it seems like the Jiggy pathing will not be working against Jiggy because they are the one that invented the pathing themselves. So they'll be taking the death on Ice Tree with the second last gen not being able to pop yet. We do see scratch marks around this generator area. I would assume this is from the Claudette here, but actually we do see Renato on the generator at 7. Trying to just work it perhaps and then being caught a bit out of position. I'm not entirely sure why Jiggy is playing this out, but actually I believe that was a firecracker that was dropped by Venato here, but so buying enough distance to make it to this Sin Car pallet, but we'll be taking an M1 because he will not make it because of the chains that will be attached to him from the pinhead. So actually Jiggy will be committing this chase, actually just committing the chains onto Venato. Good usage of the slowdown of the deep wound add-on, the original pain that Jiggy has chosen to bring, and it's pretty standard on pretty much any pinhead set which it's allowed. So Claudette will be found here on the edge map. Actually, quite a rare miss from Jiggy. They've been quite on point with the chains this entire time, throughout this entire trial. And actually, Claudette will be forced to leave this rock filler and actually path towards another rock filler of the same time. But this rock filler is not safe, and Claudette will just take the tag while getting chained. So we'll be forced back towards the top side of the map, where pretty much the only thing we have left is this 4-lane. Sorry, not 4-lane, variant gym pallet and the edge map filler, which of course is unsafe. So they'll be booking it towards bus, and Jiggy will decide to leave the chase to check on Venato's gen. Now, because of all of that, Venato has been able to work this 7 gen here, and perhaps Jiggy centers an early rotation, which was the case, and Venato is stuck here at this 6th tile. And Jiggy actually doing a bit of a mind game and everything, but unfortunately will miss. So there will just be the chain tag onto Venato here. And sorry, all this chasing you'd think has not amounted to much, but again, with the ruin totem being active on the bottom side of the map, pretty much every second that the survivors spend not on generators, they start regressing by 25% of that original amount. So every chase is kind of 25% more efficient for Killer Jiggy as they take the down onto Venato and Slug to find Claudette, perhaps working the last generator, but I don't think they'll be able to get it done because, yeah, we see scratch marks on 11, so they were just trying to rotate for the generator or perhaps rotating away from the generator. And so I think this will be a 4K2 as our Claudette will be taking the final chase on our broken bus here. Unfortunately, for our survivors, they did not get the optimal bus spawning, but Claudette will go down anyway, and this will be a 4K2 result for Cenobite. This is actually quite a convincing result, I think. Cenobite is quite a weak killer, so our balancing is not really that strong for the survivor side. However, for the Pinhead, the effective counterplay measures are to take body blocks and to use your distances quite effectively and your health states, so you can extend chases in the areas of the map where you want to bring the Pinhead to. Because as Pinhead, again, you're kind of just an M1 killer with a bit of a special power where you zone the survivors a bit easier. So you kind of, yeah, you can't really play against pre-leaves that well and so on. But we'll be seeing 4K2 on GE Cenobite, and we'll be seeing Dispersion's killer next. Actually, they will have to meet a 4K2 result if they want to tie. But 4K3, I think, is quite impossible on Pinhead, unfortunately. But this is DK's pick of the killer set. So if they do win this, it is not really a big deal for Dispersion because they will be heading in to the next set on their own pick. But for now, we'll be going into a short intermission. Welcome back, everybody. Now, we are resuming the Cenobite set on the Wrecker's Yard, where we'll be seeing Dispersion's Killer, seeing if they can meet a 4K2 tie condition that our DK killer, Jiggy, has managed to set for our survivors in the first set here on this winner's bracket round 2 of season 2 Bloodrush League. So we'll be seeing actually Besk on the Cenobite here, taking the first chase. I believe this is the bottom side of the map, and it seems like they've actually spawned a good bus here. So Besk, our Cenobite, actually will be teleporting to the box, and Renato just unfortunately running into the killer there. Pinhead can sometimes be spawning in some weird positions when the the box survivor does start solving. But if we do look at the add-ons that are, not add-ons, are perks that our Boomhead has brought along, we've seen actually Corrupt Intervention, which just ran out because our Renato got down. We also see a Blood Favor and a Pentimento, so no Ruin actually that Pyramid, I keep on saying Pyramid Head, that our Pinhead has decided to bring. Instead, they bring the Pentimento Blood Favor, because taking an M1 tag usually means that you'll be able to pre-drop pallets around, but because of the 32 meter radius and the chain that the Pinhead can apply to survivors, actually, you'd be able to zone survivors within that 32 meter radius of the first injury happening. So you'll not be able to drop pallets and therefore probably get down because of Blood Favor, as the first unhook of the trial does occur onto our Venato, and a pre-drop of this boss pallet does come in. So our Pinhead will be forced to break and also see if they can take a chain onto Venato, which is quite interesting, but unfortunately will take the chain anyway. So a bit of distance lost for him, but we'll actually be taking the G pathing towards our bottom side here, which we'll see a pallet gem, but they will not be able to make the pallet because we see our ace here take a body block. Actually, this is 2 generators done, so this is only 1 generator left for our survivors to pop if they want to take the tie condition against their own set, the Cenobite. And Ace will take a tag, and I would assume that they're heading straight towards Shack so they can take that immediate Shack pallet drop. Ace will do it right now, I would guess. Oh no, that is Blood Favor value actually coming in, so they will not be able to drop the pallet for another good amount of time. So actually, Venato's kind of just forced. Oh, I was going to say for a good amount of time, but that good amount of time unfortunately just ran out. So Venato actually will be voiding that chain there, which is actually quite huge for them, because if that chain landed, it will be playing a few 50-50s for our Cenobite if they can land the down onto them, because this low vault on Shack pallet might make it a little bit more difficult for the survivor to play. But good pre-drops here from our Venato, keeping the distance of our Cenobite, forcing them to miss yet another chain onto Renato, and actually they're heading towards the optimal death spot, because we see they do make the edge map, and they also do have one more filler here and the survivor close by. However, they do go down after attempting to slow vault the pallet. So actually, our Pinhead here decides to slug for a bit, just go for the chain for a slight bit of slowdown onto our near here before picking up our Renato and hooking them. I believe this is bottom side. Okay, so that means I've mucked up my communications for the previous bit. Minato was hooked in the top side, and now they're hooked bottom side. As we see this generator actually on 25%, getting dry kicked by our Cenobite here. Unfortunately, no regression perks available for them. They've gone for quite an aggressive build with the Blood Favor, but actually that has been cleansed already, and so they kind of want to try and get this Pentimento up and running as soon as possible, because if they don't, then really these generators will be being progressed like around 40% faster, because Pentimento would mean it's 70% of the original speed. So therefore, that if the 70% speed is not there and it's 100%, it'll be around 40% increase. Anyway, enough math out of the way. As Alcina Bite does try and find Survivor trying to get the pull here, and I would guess that Decay either just wants to be sitting at the generators or go for a two-man pull, and it is indeed that our Claudette was sitting the generator on the Pentimento totem, actually, close by there. So if they do manage to get another generator done, this will be the win condition met. It's actually a bit of an unfortunate chain spawn for Arsenobite, as it seemed to spawn like beneath the stairs. Maybe the stairs were hollow or something, but Claudette actually getting caught out on Shack. This is actually very rare in comp. You'd usually get communication as to where the pinhead is from anybody as long as they have line of sight, and this does allow our pinhead to head over to 9 confidently and pick up the Pentimento, which will be huge for them. However, again, our survivors already met the tie condition. As long as they get one stage out after the last generators pop, obviously Latin Claudette. Oh, okay, but they do take the swing from Claudette's fake on the pallet. But they do manage to get another gen done. That will secure the win. So we have 2 healthy survivors. They've been working generators for a good amount of time because it has not been seen since since they've been chained, but Pentimento has been cleansed. So that will be generators going back to our maximum efficiency without pretty much any perks left is our pinhead playing with. So they'll just have to be and that is the generator in deep 12 pop. So that will be the win condition met for our DK on DK's side on the Cenobite side, which is their pick. But again, usually you expect the picks from each team to be won by the team. So Dispersion shouldn't be feeling too bad about this as they head into what they pick next, which is the Dredge set. They'll just be trying to mentally prepare for that set. In the pretty much in the break of the Cenobite set, because pretty much what we're seeing here is just for fun games and playing for best result, as our Cenobite has already lost. But of course, you want to try and make up for it mentally to try and get as best a result as possible on the killer side, and of course on the survivor side as well. Try and get as many escapes or hooks out of the door, or of course generators done if that is indeed the condition that you're trying to break there. But our Cenobite does have a nice 3 gen, I would say. A lot better than some other 3 gens on the Vector's Yard that can spawn. So I'd say it's a bit of a W for them because they've not managed to protect that 4th generator, but the 5th generator should be somewhat easier to protect because it is in a somewhat 3 gen. As our ace does get chained here on this Voc filler near 7, we'll be seeing if he takes a tag, which does seem to be the case because the chain slowdown has been enough so that they don't make another loop of the rock filler. And actually, our Cenobite will unfortunately be missing a chain onto ace here, trying to cut off a rotation for the pull. However, I think our Nea's just working the last generator patiently, and I think they've been given enough time to do so, or to at least put it to around 90% in this corner of the map at 11 here. But our Survivor on hook still has a good 15 seconds left, so our Cenobite just has to pressure our ace here, so they cannot get the pull in time for them before they die, which actually might seem to be the case, but maybe not, because ace does, well, run away from it, because the Cenobite does commit. But I think here, ace might be an adrenaline survivor, because Unbreakable, of course, is not allowed against a low-tier killer. So our Claudette will down hook, and our Neo will be pumping this last generator at the bus here. I'm going to see if they get done, which they actually do as soon as I say that. And our ace is not the adrenaline player, so I think we'll be looking at a clean 4K 0 here for our pinhead as they enter the last chase with Nia. I believe that was light just used on the bus as they head towards the 12 tile here. We know there's a pallet gym here which is undropped, and I think they'll just be pre-dropping it right now. But actually, it does not seem to be the case. They're just waiting for the pinhead to commit a bit more, and they'll take a chain onto Nia here, taking some nice parting actually to avoid the chains, but unfortunately doing the timer mind game there, just waiting for the survivor to commit to one side and then checking for footsteps or so on. And it seemed to have worked, and Nia just goes down. So it will be a 4K0 for Dispersion's killer on our Cenobite set, but not good enough to meet a 4K2 win condition. Again, we'll be heading into the Dredge set quite shortly, but I think Dispersion can be feeling pretty good about himself because the 4K0 is still a solid result on the Cenobite set, on Vector's Yada spell. So I think with that being said, we'll have to see what Dispersion's Dredge can do on, can you believe it, the Shattered Borgo, because that is the map that Dredge is on. But we'll be seeing what they can do after a short intermission. Welcome back, everybody. After we saw Dispersion's killer fail to meet a 4K2 win condition and Decay take the point of the Cenobite set, we're now into Dispersion's pick of our winner bracket round 2 of Blood Rush League Season 2. We have the Dredge actually on this map, which is the Borgo. Actually, oh my gosh, somebody is found in a locker or trying to close a locker with the lock. So that is actually the first down and first hook occurring like 15 seconds into the trial. That's insanely fast for Dredge as well. Unfortunately, we'll be seeing a bit of a spectator bug as our Dredge is kind of the position is unknown until they make an interaction, but they will, of course, break the main filler, which is a God pallet actually in most cases, God filler pallet, and we'll head back to hook and applying eruption on the 12 generator just before they leave. Let's see what they decide to do, because this map is quite open, so it's actually quite unfavored for Dredge. Dredge, you want to usually be playing in tight corridors and in room base, because the power of the Remnant does shine when the Survivor is zoned, because you kind of just force them into playing an unwinnable situation where if they drop the pallet, you hit them with the Remnant. If they don't drop the pallet, you hit them with the Remnant anyway, because Dredge is like that. Or you force them into a gamble, but the good Dredge players can force it into pretty much taking a tag every time. But on this map, where you have a good amount of junk, actually, now the junk will allow the survivors to path into that and actually delay using the resource to wait out the remnant of the Dredge. But unfortunately, our Venato here will be hitting the second stage because of the very early down. I think our survivors were correct into not deciding to pull this early. Now, actually, I've not really talked about the killer perks that have been chosen yet, and I think I quite like this build from from Besk here. We have a standard pain resonance and also eruption. Eruption is quite nice on a Dredge because if you aggressively tunnel out the first survivor, we'll see our we'll see the eruption getting a lot of value later on. But actually, an FTP will be used onto our Venato. This is a good decision, I believe, from the survivors because we will need to see quite a long chase from our Venato if they want to try and get outs, which I think will be required because DK's survivor side is quite strong. So we'll be seeing an M1 tag in the mid map here, and they'll have to be working with around 2 more healthy survivors in terms of health states. That's what they're working with, and Nato will be taking the vault, but no exhaustion is available for them. Actually, we see a gen pop in the distance, so I'm not sure if this Claudette is still around here, and it seems like they are. And Jiggy does take, sorry, not Jiggy, Besk does take the M1 onto them instead, and Renato smartly does use the junk here, as I was saying, to part away from the Remnant, and instead will make it towards, actually, this pallet here, which they don't make because it's on a horrible 4-lane tile without a window either, so they just don't make that at all. And they'll be going down, and we'll be seeing our first kill with 2 generators remaining, and also 1 tag with Sloppy and 1 injury without Sloppy. So it'll be the first death, 2 gens remaining. This is quite strong, showing quite a strong start from Dispersion's killer at the moment. What they want to do now is try and snowball the Nightfall into trying to find anyone here, any kind of injury that they get or down that they get is actually quite important for them because the Sloppy Butcher will make it very difficult for the survivors to reset, especially with a 3v1 and with pretty much anything in play. But I think that will be Jiggy, our ace player, with a special red cap with the comp fit as well, taking the M1 Sloppy Butcher tag for, Claudette here, dropping the pallet. Um, the ace did take the hit for the Claudette, but Claudette did manage to get the stun, which is somewhat big, but unfortunately they don't make anything else. So we'll hop into the locker. I think this is a smart play, wasting a bit more time, forcing the Dredge to pick up, and also that will mean the end of Nightfall for our Dredge, and they will have to just decide to take hook here. not wanting to drop and slug for perhaps a bit of a snowball onto our injured ace or just get an injury onto Nia before coming back to pick up Claudette. Seems like that was not the optimal play because they just picked up Claudette and put them on a Painless hook and teleported straight towards main into a locked locker. So this main generator was being worked on very recently. This must have been the generator that was Painless because it was on around 80%. So Nia was nowhere to be found though. We see birds fly up, and of course the unhook happen. That's what you would usually decide would be happening if you see birds fly off near a hook. However, Ace will be taking the chase next, I believe, as we are following his marks, or not, maybe back to the main building to check on the main building generator, which Nia is on, wisely locking the second locker there on the main building before attempting to work the generator. But, trying to book the distance towards our edge map here on this. Oh, beautiful piloting there, actually faking the pallet on one side and then baiting the swing to make it towards this little bit of filler here, which I do believe is weaker than the pallet that they just ran away from. So just using this to stall out a bit of time, not as much time, because Dredge is at the end of the day an M1 killer, and Dredge actually decides to teleport to the locker, and Nia is already miles away from this point. I think it's a force break onto his pallet. It's quite strong, and the Nightfall kicks in now, so they'll be check on the generators yet again. Now I think they really need to kick the main generator for the eruption. Unless that was already done, which I think is the case because the dead was yellow. But I think they need to really go back and check on the main building generator because that was really the only generator that they knew had a lot of progress, and its survivors would really want to try and rotate back to try and get percentages back onto. But unfortunately, for Dredge here, we only saw the Nia with the killer instinct that the Nightfall does provide when teleporting outwards. So that means that the two other survivors are completely elsewhere and working a generator there. Nia will be taking the window here. This is quite a title to be looping as a survivor. And we'll be seeing the pre-drop here. It will delay a lot more time. And yeah, Nia will just be playing for their life here. I think it will be enough time to see the last generator pop, because I think they'll be rotating onto main. That generator was 80% before it got kicked, and Nia was working it. I don't think it got kicked again. But oh my gosh, there's actually the ping there on that vault meant that the Dredge could not get the hit through the teleport on the locker, and actually now the gates are open already. Wow. And Nia will be going for the hatch. I'm not sure if the hatch will spawn time. I don't know what Dredge is doing actually, because they could have gone to pick up onto Nia, but unfortunately, just going to close the hatch in their face instead. And we'll be getting a good look of this Dredge boy on the Nia. And yeah, the very nice camera angle there from from our Dredge. But unfortunately, we'll have to be looking to see what Decay's killer can do against Dispersion's survivors side as we take a quick intermission before we head into the next match. Welcome back, everybody, to our winners bracket round 2 of Decay versus Dispersion. Now, Decay are up 1-0 going into this Dredge set, where they will be trying to meet a 7-stage 3 fresh hooks as a tie condition for Jiggy, our Dredge, to try and achieve 2, again, tied up. Or if they were to get A stages or more, or so on, then they would actually take this 2-0 against Dispersion. But if Dispersion manages to get 6 stages or less, or 7 stages too fresh, which is actually impossible, then 6 stages, if they manage to get 6 stages out of the door, or 6 stages preserved, then they would also take that to a 1-1 and go to a tiebreaker match. But actually, we'll be seeing the blood favor here coming in on the main building palette, and our Claudette here will be a bit stuck on these bits of junk, which again, Jiggy here, our Dredge, will be using the Remnant to shorten that down a little bit. And yeah, force them away from that, because it is a strong bit of junk to loop, and G will be holding W to see if they can cut our Claudette off from pretty much any resource, force some edge map, and get the down quickly if possible. But I believe this is a jungle gym, so it's going to be a bit difficult for Jiggy here to play this, and Claudette understanding this, although it's a strong jungle gym, does mean does not mean that you have to play it necessarily against a killer that's as weak as Dredge, because yeah, Claudette here is actually giving a nice showing of how you can completely abuse bits of junk and long loops to stall out the chase and buy a lot of time for your teammates to do gens. But actually, the Bloodlust one will be kicking in for Jiggy here, so they'll be forced to play this pretty horrible variant gym, or that's what I call it, variant gym tile. And actually, Jiggy decides to leave after the mind games don't work. And actually, two gens pop for this. The two gens pop for the first chase. This is actually really, really nicely done by Claudette here. This is really strong performance on the survivors side already. However, things are still not looking too bad for Jiggy because they do have two injuries of the Sloppy Butcher, and they are chasing this injured survivor on a horrible tile, but actually loses them because the survivor holds W away from the loop, and they'll actually just take the tag onto our Venato instead, seems like. And with that, no injuries applied, no downs have been taken, but 3 injuries applied for 3 generators popped. So actually, our survivors have been working these generators extremely efficiently. And although this generator was popped, our Claudette actually does go down. There's a bit of a miscommunication or mistiming on the jungle gym pallet, and Jiggy decides to break. You should usually break jungle gym pallets if you have the spare amount of time. And we'll pick, actually, this is the first pick of the game, 3 generators in. So this is a strong start by Dispersion, but I think what they'll need to do here to try and stabilize is to get the resets in, and Jiggy knows this. So they'll be hovering the teleport, see if they can check the generators or check for the reset that the Renato and Ace are trying to do. We do see the IS tree at the top of main, and taking the vault there, but our Dredge will just completely leave, knowing that the Nightfall has come, uh, knowing that the teleport speed of the Dredge will make him actually the most mobile killer in the entire game, will mean that he can spot out this reset on the edge of the map. So we're trying to take it down onto Renato, which seems to be the case because Ace does fail the body block here, and Jiggy wants to go for more because of the Blood Favor totem, which is actually here. Jiggy will be, going for the M1 onto Ace, and actually the pallet here is available for him. I'm not entirely sure why he didn't pre-drop it immediately, but seems to work out anyway as we get the late drop anyway onto our Dredge here. And Dredge will be forced to return. Unfortunate that they couldn't make much other use out of the Nightfall, but at least they do manage to keep around 50% of the Nightfall left. And Ace here playing a bit aggressive for the pallet save, and justly, rightly so, because he did make the strong filler pallet in response, so could avoid the hit there, and unfortunately will not make the pallet save. So our survivors will have to retire again to try and again attack this generators, to try and achieve the result of 6 leaders or less. If they manage to do that, then they would be pushing it to a 1-1 and a tiebreaker set. So actually our Ace just getting caught out here, maybe just losing sight of the killer and not really checking behind him, and we'll get kind of his pathing will kind of betray him there as he takes the M1, and we'll head bottom side where I don't think there's many resources left. We did see the jungle gym before getting used, and yeah, that means that there's not really anything left except this kind of Z-wall tile, and Ace will just go down right now. And this will be the third pain resonance. Ooh, the third pain resonance that G could take, but has not taken, because we did see actually one of the other survivors not get pain resonance, but Ace did just get put in the pain resonance hooks. So this is something that Decay kind of really needs at this point, is try and get as much value out of the pain resonance as possible, because with the 2 generators left, which I'm surprised one of them has not popped at this point, with the 2 generators remaining, you kind of need to be playing aggressive to try and push survivors off, and play aggressive to get tags and apply pressure. So Jiggy will be heading topside, ignoring the unhook completely, and just trying to see, who I can catch out for a free tag. And it seems that they want to go back to the unhooked survivor, try and find try and catch out the reset onto them. But unfortunately for Jiggy, they do see that they're running straight towards Shaq, and Shaq has not been dropped yet. So it's a valuable resource that the survivors still have, and it will pay off because Jiggy has completely left the chase. And I actually will be taking a tag though, because no bounce landing if they'll go against Dredge, pre-vaulting the window there. So unfortunate for them, but the survivors are still looking in a good position here. They have not reset Renato, but that does mean that they're cranking out the generators, and I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of generators pop very soon. And I actually, again, using the bit of junk to exploit the weakness of the dredge, which is the long loops and the junk that you can connect everything to. But it will not be enough because the Bloodlust one will be kicking in for Jiggy, and they'll be taking the I believe it's Bloodlust one anyway, and they'll be taking the hook onto I Street here on near this main building. It's probably a painless, yep. And we'll be seeing the scream of, I believe, Venato on a faraway generator, and our dredge will be teleporting away. And maybe that was not a Venato screaming. I don't know. But unhook immediately occurs, and Dredge will be using the Nightfall, utilize the extra speed that's available to them during the Nightfall to go back to the unhook, pressures his fibers off the reset, and actually teleporting to Shack, seeing if they can catch Venato here off guard. And actually, our survivors have been giving a bit of a late communications here because Ice Tree had just completely walked straight into the Dredge, not realizing too late that Venato was saying, "Oh, he's coming from Shack, coming from Shack." And they just saw them a little bit ago running straight towards them from the other side of the map. So Aishi will be taking the second hook stage here. It's unfortunate for our survivors here, but our generator does pop for this. This is the fourth hook of the trial, though. So we're still looking at a pretty solid position for the survivors. Now, if they can work through this, and they can push through the last generator. There is no Noed available for Jiggy, so they can realistically get out here and meet the 6-stage win con that's necessary. However, Jiggy will just be, again, checking the generators, going back to main, seeing if they can catch someone off guard, which is the case. Ace taking a bit of strange pathing there, will be taking a hit, and Jiggy will just leave. They'll just decide that the Sloppy Butcher tag is sufficient enough to keep the survivors occupied and keep them on their toes, because as soon as the judge teleports, you kind of have to be wary of exactly where he is, where the lockers are nearby, and start running away. And that's where the Sloppy Butcher will be coming in, because if the reset happens, then both survivors, wherever they're resetting, will have to be, oh my gosh, and Ace is actually caught out on main, and this is quite unfortunate for them, because he does not make this main building God palette, and so he'll be going down near this progress generator, and this will be actually the 5th hook of the trial. So Jiggy can secure 2 more hooks. I believe that will be the tie condition met because he's not found a hook onto, I believe, Claudette at this point. So Claudette is right now the most valuable survivor for our survivors to protect, and does seem to be the case. However, I could be wrong because I've not been tracking these hook stages properly. So one of these survivors, I'm pretty sure, is Fresh Hook, but I'm not entirely sure who. Claudette will be taking the chase, though, around edge map, and unfortunately, no pallet on the edge map available for them to work with, so they'll be just booking it straight up back towards main where the unhook occurred. I think it's a bit questionable. I would have run straight back towards Shack, knowing that the reset was going on in the area, so you don't really want to be interrupting survivors. And actually, oh my gosh, Claudette managing to make the pallet. That's actually a bit of a mistake from Jiggy there, taking the teleport a bit too late. And Ace will be here now to take the body block, but they're kind of just a bit zoned at this point, and Jiggy kind of knows this, and actually doubling main. So now we're pressuring 4 survivors off this area, so this is good for Jiggy here. Any bit of pressure that you can get is welcomed in a 4v1, because at this point, all they need to do is get 2 more hooks, and then that will be actually, I think, the win condition met. And I think Ace here will be put onto a second hook. If I'm not mistaken. Actually, he could be dead, though. And he is dead indeed. That will be the death onto Ace. So we'll be looking at the 6 stages here, which our Dredge has accumulated. And actually, if they get 1 more hook stage, I believe that'll be the win, because I think I was wrong before in saying that there was a fresh hook still available for them. I think everyone's already been hooked. So if this down does happen onto Claudette on this weak filler pallet, which is the case because they do not make the pallet, the down does happen. So Jiggy in Nightfall decides to teleport across the map, checking the generators, just in case they do get it done. There's a bit of, and they do manage to get the generator in the distance done. That must have been the injured Venato sitting the generator. And Aishri just got adrenaline off that, so we don't want to be chasing that without Node. Finding our Venato on the gate here, so we'll be chasing this. Venato still has a few stages available for them, I believe. They've only been hooked once. So if they do manage to get this down, then they would get a, I believe, 9-stage result. But actually going back to the slug Claudette, which had been down already, Claudette actually starting to run into the Remnant, which I think is a bit strange. And Claudette actually winning another 50-50 from the Dredge. This, I think, must be a bit frustrating for Jiggy, as all they need to really do is get another down and it will secure a victory, I think, for DK, and that will again be the case, as Claudette unfortunately will not be able to make enough distance to get around that bit of junk. And so, yeah, and so Jiggy will just be taking the hook here, I believe, knowing that the Venato is at the gate. So we'll be taking this and, oh, maybe just be careful of the flashlight save. You can never be too careful about how you can lose. Now, again, in that situation, uh, you want to be playing around how you can lose, which is the flashlight save. And it seems like the survivors given up. That they've said, okay, we've gotten enough out of this, and it seems like, yeah, Claudette will be on second hook. So actually, Jiggy will take the W here for Team DK versus Dispersion. What I thought was a pretty decent set, going pretty well for our Dispersion survivors, did manage to turn into, I believe, a 9-stage result for our Killer Jiggy here, which is sufficient enough to win against a 7-stage result that our Dispersion Killer did get just one trial ago. So we'll be looking at a 2-0 victory from Decay over Dispersion here. So it's actually well played to both teams. I think Decay did kind of crush Dispersion in the Senior White set, but that Dredge set did get a bit close. But our Survivors did make a few mistakes, and our Dredge just capitalized on them. I don't think they were efficient enough in the middle game, and it did come back to bite them as they did lose the Dredge set in or all in all. However, I've been Tavi, your caster for tonight's recorded games, so I'll be seeing you later in the next matches.